The Honest Peddler and the Golden Bowl. In the ancient city of Andapura, there lived a poor grandmother and her young granddaughter. Long ago, their family had been wealthy merchants, but those days were far behind them. Now they worked hard just to get by. Hidden among their old pots and pans was a special bowl that had once belonged to the head of their family. It was covered in years of grime and dirt, and neither of them knew that beneath all that dust, the bowl was made of pure solid gold. One morning, a peddler came walking down their street, calling out, "Trinkets and pots for sale. Come see my wares." He was a thin, sharp-faced man with cunning eyes, always looking for a way to cheat people out of their money. The little girl heard his call and tugged at her grandmother's sleeve. "Please, grandmother, can you buy me a trinket? I've never had one." The grandmother sighed sadly. "We have no money, dear child. But wait, perhaps we can trade that old grimy bowl for something." The greedy peddler came inside and the grandmother handed him the old grimy bowl. He turned it over in his hands, and when he scratched the bottom with a needle, his heart nearly jumped out of his chest. Beneath the dirt, the unmistakable gleam of pure gold shone through. This bowl was worth a fortune, but instead of being honest, his greedy mind hatched a wicked plan. He would pretend the bowl was worthless, leave, and come back later to get it for nothing. The greedy peddler put on a show of disgust. "This old thing," he scoffed, tossing the bowl onto the floor with a clatter. "It is not worth even half a penny. You are wasting my time." He stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. The poor grandmother and her granddaughter looked at each other in disappointment. The little girl's eyes filled with tears, but her grandmother held her close. "Don't worry, dear. Perhaps the next peddler will be kinder." Not long after, another peddler appeared on the same street. This man was different. He had warm brown eyes and a gentle smile, and he called out in a kind voice, "Trinkets and pots for sale." The little girl's face lit up with hope. "Grandmother, let's try again," she begged. The grandmother hesitated, still stung by the first peddler's harsh words. But seeing her granddaughter's hopeful eyes, she picked up the old bowl and invited the honest peddler inside. The honest peddler took the bowl in his hands and turned it over gently. The moment he saw the golden scratch on the bottom, he knew the truth. But unlike the greedy peddler, he did not try to hide it. He looked at the grandmother with kind, honest eyes and said, "Dear mother, do you know what you have here? This bowl is made of pure gold. It is worth 100,000 pieces of silver. I could never pay you what it is truly worth." The grandmother and her granddaughter gasped in amazement. The honest peddler emptied out everything he owned. 500 silver coins, all his pots, all his pans, every trinket and bead. He placed them all before the astonished grandmother. "Please take all of this in exchange for the bowl," he said. "I only ask to keep 8 coins for my boat ride home and my weighing scales." The grandmother wept tears of joy. After so many years of poverty, kindness and honesty had finally found their door. The little girl hugged the peddler tightly, thanking him again and again. The honest peddler hurried to the river with his golden bowl and sailed away on a boat, his heart full of peace. Meanwhile, the greedy peddler came creeping back to the grandmother's house, ready to take the bowl for nothing. But when he heard that another peddler had already told them the truth and paid a fair price, his face turned red with rage and shame. He had lost a fortune because of his own dishonesty, and as the honest peddler sailed peacefully into the sunset, the greedy one was left with nothing but regret and the bitter lesson that honesty is always the wisest choice. Moral: honesty and fairness bring true reward, while greed and deception lead only to loss and regret. The Two Fierce Horses. Long ago, in the great city of Benares, King Brahmadatta had a horse like no other. His name was Big Chestnut, and he was the fiercest, most bad-tempered horse in all the land. He would kick, bite, and stomp on anyone who came near him. Even the bravest stable boys were terrified of his wild eyes and snapping teeth. Only the stable master dared to feed him, and even he kept his distance. Now King Brahmadatta was a greedy king. Every year, horse dealers from the north would bring fine horses to sell at the market. The king hatched a sneaky plan. "Release Big Chestnut among the dealers' horses," he whispered to the stable master. "When he bites and frightens them, I can buy them cheaply. And so the fierce horse was set loose, and he chased and bit the visiting horses until they were weak and scared. The king's wise advisor saw what was happening and was deeply troubled. "Your Majesty," he said firmly, "it is wrong to cheat the honest horse dealers. A great king rules with fairness, not with tricks." But the greedy king just laughed and waved his hand. "Mind your own business, advisor. I am saving the kingdom's gold." The wise man shook his head sadly, knowing that dishonesty always brings trouble. The next year, the horse dealers returned. But this time they had a secret weapon. "We have a horse called Strongjaw," they told the wise advisor with a grin. "He is just as fierce and wild as Big Chestnut, maybe even wilder. If the king tries his trick again, we will let our horse loose too." The wise advisor smiled and said, "Bring Strongjaw along. I believe we will all learn something very interesting." The king ordered Big Chestnut released as before. The fierce chestnut horse charged out of his stable, eyes blazing, teeth bared, ready to terrorize the visiting horses. But the dealers released Strongjaw at the same moment. The dark brown beast thundered forward with a terrible neigh, just as fierce, just as wild. Everyone held their breath. The two most dangerous horses in all the land were running straight at each other. But then something amazing happened. When Big Chestnut and Strongjaw came face to face, they did not fight at all. Instead, they stopped, sniffed each other gently, and began to lick each other affectionately, nuzzling cheeks, grooming manes, and nickering softly like old friend. The king's mouth dropped open. The horse dealers burst out laughing. Everyone stared in disbelief at the two most terrible horses in the land, being as sweet and gentle as lambs. The wise advisor stepped forward with a knowing smile. "Do you see, Your Majesty? These two horses are fierce and cruel to every gentle horse they meet. They bite and bully the innocent without mercy. But when they meet another bully just like themselves, they become the best of friend. The wicked always recognize their own kind." The king turned red with embarrassment, realizing the lesson was meant for him too. From that day forward, King Brahmadatta stopped his dishonest tricks and paid the horse dealers fairly. He learned that true strength is not in bullying the weak, but in treating everyone with honesty and respect. The two fierce horses were kept together in the royal stable, where they remained gentle and happy with each other, though they never did stop being troublesome to everyone else. Moral: true strength lies in fairness and honesty, not in bullying the weak. The Honest Boy and the Lotus Flowers. In the great city of Benares, there lived a wealthy merchant with 3 sons. The youngest, Paduma, was kind and honest, always speaking the truth. His 2 older brothers were clever and charming, but they often stretched the truth to get what they wanted. One day, a grand festival was announced in the city. Everyone would wear beautiful garlands of flowers to celebrate. The 3 brothers wanted the finest lotus flowers to make their garlands. Their father told them about a beautiful lotus pond at the edge of the city, guarded by an old keeper. The 3 brothers went to the lotus pond together. An old keeper with a scarred face and a missing nose sat by the water, guarding the precious flowers. The eldest brother stepped forward first with a big, charming smile. "Dear uncle, if you give us your finest lotuses, I am sure your nose will magically grow back. Imagine how handsome you would look." The old keeper frowned deeply. He knew noses don't grow back. This boy was lying to trick him. "Get away, you little liar," he shouted angrily. Then the middle brother tried the same trick. "Give us lotuses and your nose will surely return." The keeper grew even angrier. "Another liar. Away with you both." Now it was young Paduma's turn. His brothers whispered, "Just tell him the same thing. It worked for everyone else before." But Paduma shook his head. He walked up to the old keeper and bowed politely. "Dear sir, I won't lie to you. A nose that is gone cannot grow back. I simply ask you kindly, may I please have some lotus flowers for the festival?" The old keeper's eyes widened with surprise. After hearing nothing but lies all day, here was a boy who spoke the honest truth. His heart melted with happiness. At last, he said with a warm smile, "An honest soul. My dear child, your truth is more precious than any flower. Take as many lotuses as you wish." The happy keeper waded into the pond and gathered armfuls of the most beautiful lotus flowers, pink, white, and golden. He made the most splendid garland young Paduma had ever seen. The two older brothers watched with their mouths hanging open, ashamed that their lies had failed while their little brother's honesty had won the day. That evening, Paduma wore the most beautiful garland at the festival, and everyone admired it. When their father heard the story, he smiled proudly at his youngest son. "Remember, my boys," he said, "flattery and lies may seem like a shortcut, but only honesty and kindness truly open people's hearts." And so, the honest boy with his lotus flowers became the talk of Benares. Moral: honesty and kindness open hearts that flattery and lies never can.